Hello. Oh my goodness, you guys, this is so great. I pushed the go button and we are actually live on all three platforms at this very same time. I think that might be a first. So hello Instagram, hello Facebook, hello YouTube. I am so excited to be here with you all right now. My name is Crispina French and I am here today with my superhero concierge Carson. And today is number 4 in our little mini series all about potholder rugs and how to make them. So today's the last day, and we have had 3 amazing days of like full-on engagement and an amazing turnout and the best questions I think I've ever actually been asked in this setting. So for all of you who are out there with us today, thank you. Let me know in the comments if you have had a chance to see any of the previous sessions of this little mini course. And I brought caution on just to let you guys know that when we start teaching, so the session actually starts at noon. So that's Eastern Standard Time. So on the hour. So we have a couple minutes just to kind of join the group and sort of get the juju going, right? So once that happens, once the actual teaching happens, I'm actually not paying a bit of attention to the comment feed. It's just really distracting for me. So Carson will still be here. They won't be on screen, but they'll be back behind the scenes fielding any immediate needs that come up. And at the end, Carson will compile the questions that come in during the teaching session and let me know what those questions are so we can get right to them. So let me know, before we get started, I don't want to jump in too early because I certainly don't want to. Oh, Randy saw all of them. And you guys are the best. Tracy and Randy, thank you. And over on Instagram, I see a whole bunch. Wow, reduce, reuse, remake. My new best friend. Awesome sauce. It's so great to see all the people joining. It's just, it really is affirming to realize, like, honestly, you guys, I had not a clue that there is just such a level of interest in what this work is, which is all about recycling discarded clothing, really presenting an alternative to crafting with new materials, and also just really addressing fast fashion in a way that's not necessarily, I get a little overwhelmed with the kind of negativity that we all get, like, oh my gosh, there's this crisis, this environmental crisis, we're all going to hell in a handbasket. And, it's much better if we look at this whole thing as an issue that we can address. And we have the power to actually have a pretty significant impact on what is going on with textile waste in the world. And it can be fun, it can be nurturing, it can be community building. And rather than having it be like this sort of overwhelming kind of guilty feeling about being human and being what's labeled as a consumer, we can kind of think of ourselves, rather than thinking of ourselves as consumers, as we've been labeled by those that are selling us things to consume. We can look at it as we are citizens and we are part of a global community that is really positive. We're doing some amazing things, like the fact that all of the interest in responding to fast fashion in a way that's more environmentally kind and inclusive and serves the people within the industry in a more productive manner. It's so exciting. Like, I like to focus on all the good stuff because, people are awesome, and we sometimes get, we just kind of get bombarded with a lot of negativity on every platform and corner that it seems, right? And then you stop and you look and you go, wait, hold on, there's some really cool things going on in the world. So let's focus on those, okay? And share with me today, if you're watching, from where are you located? What is it like where you are as far as like textile recycling goes? Do you have thrift stores in your area? Is there, do you use FreeCycle? Are there online platforms that you use to my daughter's all about Poshmark. She finds a lot of her clothing on Poshmark. There's other platforms. ThreadUp is another one that's like a place where you can actually shop for used clothing. So it's like an online thrift store. So share what you got, because before my 15-year-old turned me on to Poshmark, I didn't really know what that platform was about. So it's really helpful for all of us to share that information and find new resources for working toward that goal of diminishing our environmental impact. Let me see. Right now, I'm not really, let's see. Oh, from Florida, Maine, and Massachusetts. My girl, Kim. Okay, Kim, you are just the bomb diggity. Kim and I Kim came to a workshop. I guess it was, God, it must have been longer than a year ago because of COVID. So she's a realtor out on Cape Cod, and she is just a really a creative, open-minded, free-thinking person who is really crafty and has an amazing finish. So welcome, Kim. And we got Tama, Tracy from Blanchard, Oklahoma. That's I've been to Oklahoma. It sure is pretty out there. So, and Rebecca lives 4 doors down from a thrift store. I don't know. That might be a little dangerous for me because I probably just like have so many things in my home. So let's see. Vintage sellers. Buy Nothing is amazing. I think there's a platform on Facebook, and I'm not familiar, but I've just seen a few comments come through the feed in the last few days. That's a Buy Nothing group. So if you look on Facebook, Google it up or Facebook it up, and see if you can find a chapter of that in your area. And I think it's all about bartering. I'll look more into that and learn more about it after we're done with this little series. Yes, Georgianne is from cold Ohio. I have to tell you guys, so I live in Western Massachusetts, and we have a pretty good selection of thrift shops in our area. We have all kinds, there's the Salvation Army and Goodwills, and then there's smaller little thrift stores that benefit different organizations, churches and food pantries and such. But what did happen last night, which is kind of like a little bit off-putting for me, is that it snowed. And it wasn't just like, a flurry that just kind of came and went. It stuck to the ground. There's actually snow on the ground outside right now. I mean, I love snow. I love being outdoors, but I want to plant my garden. So I'm not super psyched about the snow on the ground today, but I have to remind myself that I do love wool. I love wool sweaters. They keep you warm. So that is just a little thing to contend with this morning. And if you're in cold Ohio, I know how you feel because I am in cold Western Massachusetts. Tracy says her daughter has 7 children, so she's collecting clothing from her. That's great. And one of the things that you can do with Potholder Rugs that we touched upon a little bit on day number 1 is you can make beautiful commemorative rugs using clothing that belong to people that you love. So that's a nice way to kind of get started too. So I do certainly have the gift of gab. If you have not noticed, I'm noticing that it's just a couple of minutes after noon right now. So I think we're going to jump into our day number 4 teaching session. This is going to be recorded for all of those people who weren't able to get to join us live. So I won't be answering questions until the end when we'll have a Q&A session when Carson will be helping me with that. So Carson will still be with us. We're just going to be behind the scenes. So they'll be off camera, and I have a bunch of slides to share with you today if you're on Facebook or YouTube. And Instagram, one of these days, I will figure out how to share slides with you as well. I tried. I've really worked at it, but I've not had a bit of success. So rather than be distracted with my inability to be super Instagram cyber, I'm just going to roll with you being able to hear me. And if you're interested in seeing slides later, there's recordings posted, and Carson can help you with that too. Awesome. Are you guys ready? Thanks so much, Carson. It's such a pleasure. Yes, thank you. You're just amazing. I appreciate you. Let's rock this, you guys. Okay. Day number 4, Potholder Rug making study hall with me, Crispina French. And I talked about this a little bit the other day, but I do think, it's not 100% sure, but I'm pretty sure that I actually invented potholder rugs back in 1990. I have researched for over 30 years trying to find a historical reference to this really cool, very simple technique for making amazing rugs out of recycled clothing, and I have yet to find any reference to this particular technique. So just to kind of give anyone who's joining us for the first time today, this is a potholder rug. It's a tiny one. It's actually designed to be a chair pad. This size is a really great size if you have a limited workspace made on this size loom. And you can make room size rugs from components that you make and then join together at the end. So there were some questions that came up over the last few days that I have not had a chance to address, and I'd like to do that right now. So the first question is, how do you clean potholder rugs? That's a very common question. And the answer to that question is that you can actually wash them in a washing machine. Something this size can easily get thrown into your average home washing machine. As they get larger, you want to put them into like a commercial washing machine. I actually, when I had my production company, I had a washing machine that I could fit a 5 by 7 foot rug into, and it would just, I mean, they come out so clean. It's like throwing a pair of jeans or a pile of laundry in the washing machine. It's the same idea. They go in dirty, they come out clean. The intricacies of washing them are, they're very heavy. They're thick. They're about 1 inch thick. They take a while to dry, and I don't recommend putting them in the dryer for a few reasons. One is that the texture of the rug really changes when you put it in the dryer. It kind of gets fluffy, and there's more kind of fluff to the surface. So if you like the texture that they are when you make them to start with, just wash them in the washing machine, pull them out. You can dry them over a banister. If you have a deck on your house, that's ideal. Somewhere that air circulation can get to. So what I often do in my living situation is I lay them out flat on our basement floor, and I'll flip them over every day or two, every day. And it takes 2 or 3, 4 or 5 days. It depends on, if it's very humid where you are, and that sort of thing. So yes, they're very easy care. If you're not really going to put them in the washing machine because you don't have access to one that would accommodate the size of your rug, you can steam clean them. You know, those things you can rent at like the grocery store, the steam cleaners, those work great for these rugs. You can dry clean them, although dry cleaning is really kind of gross. It's full of chemicals that you don't want to necessarily have in your midst or in your water supply. So yes, the idea is to keep it really environmental. So there are eco dry cleaners. I think they're quite expensive. So go with the machine washing. You can also just spot clean them, put a little warm water and soap and just scrub with like a sponge, a scrubby sponge or some kind of a brush. And there is another technique that I'll share with you quickly that's kind of a traditional kind of old New England technique that I use where I live, because we do have, like I said, snow, even in April. In the wintertime, when you have a fresh blanket of snow, if you flop your rug right down in that snow, pick it up, and then flop it down on the other side in the snow, all the kind of animal hair or bits of whatever threads, if you're me and you have tons of thread in your life, those all stick to that snow. And then when you flip it over on the other side, the same thing happens. So that'll take off any kind of like surface stuff, pills, animal hair, dust, whatever. So that's a great way to do it. That's a much quicker turnaround. You don't have to worry about letting it dry because the snow is it just kind of pulls that surface lint off the surface of the rug. So then the other question that I've been asked over the last couple of days is about our scholarship program. So in just a couple minutes, I'm going to tell you about the masterclass that is going to kick off starting today. Actually, registration opens today for my masterclass all about potholder rugs. And we do have a scholarship program. So there's a way that, and actually Carson will post this up in the comments as, I don't know, maybe we should post it a couple of times, Carson. So the scholarship fund is funded by people just like you who have a little bit extra to share. You can donate to the scholarship fund in any increment of $20. And that scholarship money is matched by me. And that enables people who don't have the ability, the financial ability to take the master class, who really want to. It offers them a lesser priced option. So if you're in, if you have a little extra and you can share, if it's $20 or if it's $200, like that is just, it really enables a lot of people to participate in the course that wouldn't otherwise be able to. So the last time I ran the master class, that the scholarship fund was actually suggested by a lovely woman who wanted to make a donation. And her suggestion enabled 5 students to take the course. There was a real interest in helping others that don't have as much. And one of the things that's super nice about this particular making process is that it's a very low cost process. Once you have your loom and you have the knowledge, you can, accessing materials is pretty affordable. Most of the time you can find donations, and if you're purchasing materials, they're also quite affordable for making. So the scholarship fund is something that I would love for you all to consider, whether you're in need of help to participate or if you have a little bit extra that you could share with someone in need. So I want to now, I'm going to share my screen, and I'm going to see if I can get this to work just the way I want it to. Let's see. Yes, I think I've got this. I'm getting it. The learning never stops, right? Like, okay, here we go. So I was thinking that I was going to still be able to see, or you were going to still be able to see me, but for some reason, I'm going to try that again. Let's see, stop. Let's see, screen. Okay, let's see. Okay, let me see, I'm going to try that again. Sorry, I'm just learning. Share screen, here we go. Chrome, there we go. All right, okay, here we go. All right, so this past week, we talked all about workspace setup, about this is your Potholder Rug Loom, and this image that I'm showing on Facebook and YouTube. It's set up in a way that's safe to work on. It's secured to the banister behind it. This is the large size loom that is available in my shop. If you're not interested in making your own, you can go there and check those out. So that's the large loom, and you can see what kind of space is required for that. And we talked about a portable workspace, something smaller, something that's a little bit less of a commitment in your home or your studio. And I'll show it for Instagram viewers. This is the size loom that we're currently showing on the other platforms. So it's, the loom itself is about 22 inches square, and it makes components that are about 15 inches square. So you'll notice that the difference, so 22 inches down to 15, you lose about 33% of your of the size in the making process. So you want to accommodate for that when you're planning your loom. We also talked about recycling all these old clothes, right? The statistic that sticks in my head is that the average United States citizen tosses away over 80 pounds of used clothing each year. And of that, only 15% of that actually gets recycled in a way that keeps it from going to either the landfill or the incinerator. So we got some rugs to make, my friends. We got some work to do and some materials to capture and make into beautiful things. So there's a lot of it out there. There's just used clothing everywhere, okay? And another statistic just to keep in mind is that textile waste recently surpassed in volume the amount of plastic waste in the United States. So fast fashion is having a pretty big detriment on our environment at this point, and we have the power and the wherewithal, the skills to actually reverse that. So we also talked about taking all of that clothing and making them into these beautiful rugs, right? Like that's why we're here. So you can see there's just, think about that and then think about that. So piles of used clothing along the side of the road or in a landfill turned into these rugs that are just gorgeous, made to last and they wear really well, and they're insulating, and there's no chemicals involved like there is with most carpeting that's available commercially. Um, and rainbow rugs are just like, my my current favorite, that I've talked about that a little bit. So and we talked about community rug weaves, about how you can take this process and you can actually do fundraisers for different organizations that you might support, and you can ask people to donate clothing and come and participate and really, talk about what our culture needs right now, you guys. Like, honestly, imagine that. Like, the first potholder rug weave that I did I didn't really think it through. And at one point I stood back and I was watching these people it was funny, it was in the Berkshires where I live. And the Berkshires, if you're not familiar, are like a very summer busy area. So very touristed, and lots of, cultural organizations that have summer festivals. So I was doing, it was actually right around this time of year. Today's Earth Day. I think it was actually on Earth Day. So we were doing like an opening event for our local community gardens. And so a lot of the people that were just breaking ground on their brand new community garden were there. There was musicians, and there was visitors from out of town, and there was all just a real gamut, a mix of people. And I stood back at one point and was watching. There was like a dozen people working on this big rug that all together at once. And I just was like, this is so beautiful. There was tourists. There was a family of Chinese people. I remember chatting with them, and they had just sort of happened upon this event. And there was a mom and a dad and a daughter. The parents were kind of elderly, and the daughter was taking them out for the weekend. And there was a developmentally disabled man who spent the day with me working on this rug. There were small children. There were young parents. There were just the gardeners from the community garden, and a lot of those people are from Central and South America. And it was just this beautiful amalgamation of community and weaving that together. And we made this big, beautiful rug that we then sold. And the money that we raised with making that rug went to support the community gardens. So there's a picture here I'm showing that's a different community rug weave that I did up in Maine at Maine Fiber College, and another just really successful, beautiful event that just has so much meaning for me. And you'll see that people love my teaching skills, and just the way, like, for me, it's not about teaching, it's more about sharing, and it's very inclusive. So no matter whether you've ever made anything in your life before, or you're an experienced lifelong maker, you're in the right place. So we also talked about how potholder rugs can have like a lot of meaning for people. And this woman came to one of my workshops and made this beautiful rug where she incorporated clothing that had belonged to her mother who had passed away, and clothing that she was discarding from her own closet. So she made this beautiful memory rug that she was going to give to her daughter, and just have that, like, the three generations there in that beautiful kind of connection of womanhood, of makers, of textiles. It just it holds so much meaning, and it enables it. While she was making the rug and she was cutting her material, she was handling all these pieces of clothing that had belonged to her mom, and she was just having memories, and like turning that from something that had been sitting in a box and unused and unappreciated for such a long time into this gorgeous rug that she was making, and just making a legacy that will probably outlast her. Like, these rugs last for a really long time. I have the very first rug that I've ever made. It's over 30 years old, and it's perfectly useful. There's nothing worn about it. It's really perfect for right where it is. It's actually in my office. So today I'm introducing the masterclass, and I hope that you have the information you need to go off and make your potholder rugs after our mini course. But if you really want to dive in deep and learn all the ins and outs and the intricacies of making the finest potholder rugs out there, I put together a masterclass that includes 5 brand new, recently recorded classes with in-depth teaching on all aspects of the potholder rug making process. There are 6 live Zoom sessions with me. to kick things off. And the 6 live Zoom sessions actually come, like there's one that kicks things off, and then there's one that follows each teaching session. So you'll get the recorded session, and then a few days later you get to have the you get to have a live, question and answer session. So if you run into any questions with the recorded teaching, you can have an answer and you won't get stuck. And then the bonus that I put together for this class, which I think is really going to be helpful, is the detailed video instruction on how to make your very own Potholder Rug Loom. My husband and I actually made this video, and my husband is such a sweetie. He knows how he actually developed the latest rendition of the loom. So you can see here on, if you can see, I'm not sure, there's like the screws on the looms that we make are kind of angled away from the center. They're made with really sturdy lumber and sturdy screws around the outside so that they're going to last for a long time. And we teach you every detail you need to know about making that loom for yourself. And of course, as I've mentioned in previous sessions of our mini course, you can make a loom with just very simple tools. But if you want a loom that's going to last, and you know that this is going to be something that you're really going to want to do for more than just a 1 or 2 project, I really suggest using the instruction provided by me and my husband to make something that will actually last you for a nice long time. So the masterclass is $597, or you can go with a 3 payment plan of $219 for each class. The other thing that I just love about the actual having the class is that there is just this group of people that comes together and makes the class so much richer. Everybody shares their experience. They get to really interact. We all kind of get to know each other a little bit, and it's kind of a beautiful connection that's shared by all the people involved. So you can turn discarded clothing into the most amazing potholder rugs, and you can do that by joining the masterclass today. Creativity is actually proven. Even just like as little as 1 hour a week, you guys, there's science that proves that creativity actually builds your confidence and self-esteem while reducing stress, anxiety, and fear. And there is nothing wrong with that in my book, right? Like, it doesn't matter, like, if there's stress, anxiety, and fear in your life, this process can really help address that in a really nurturing manner. You can meet like-minded, awesome people who share your passion for making, and become a part of our environmental solution by making art for your home. So right now, like, it's, I kind of like, I've been doing this for such a long time. Like I said before, like, it's 30 years of this. And finally now people are so excited about it. And it's just like every day that goes by, we are able to address the environmental impact of our consumption, right? So if you think about, today is a good day to register for the course, and just know that you can turn around your impact on the environment with this process. And the average 2.5 by 3.5 foot rug, this little tiny chair pad weighs about 1.5 pounds. So if you think about that 80 pounds of clothing that you might have thrown away last year, you can certainly turn 80 pounds of clothing into amazing potholder rugs by taking this course. So registration is open right now. It stays open until Monday night at midnight Eastern Standard Time. There's a little link on the slide on the Facebook and the YouTube channels right now. And I think Carson's also been posting in the comments that link, so it'll be clickable. I think that'll probably be easier. So I'm going to stop sharing here. I'm going to pop back into the StreamYard. There we go. Hi, everybody. So there's a few questions that have come in, and I want to hop into that, and let's just get those answered for anybody. If you're on Instagram, there is a link in my bio that you can click on to access the page where you can register for the Potholder Rug course. So let's see, Pat Hertzberg on Facebook wants to know, are the rugs so thick that one can trip over the edge, or can you make them thinner? Pat, that's a great question. And actually, there's a couple of answers for that. They are thick when you first make them, and the samples that I've been showing are all brand new right off the loom. And you might be familiar with the braided rugs that are more common than the potholder rugs. And they are, quite thick when you start with them. And when you lay them down and use them in your space for a period of a couple months, they become flat and kind of like a single plane. So you can see by this little sample that it's kind of knobbly, and there's like little, it's hard, it's not maybe a little hard to see, but I think you get it. There's like, they're thick. There's little knots and kind of bulky spots involved. And those are all things that just become like a flat plane over time with use. So they are thick. I would not recommend the potholder rugs for anybody who has difficulty walking. Like, rolling a wheelchair over them would be very difficult. Someone who, has limited mobility, like they would be best like not in a space where they would be apt to trip. But as far as like warmth on the floor, like under your feet, if you're sitting on the couch and they're warm, they're insulating, and they're gorgeous. So thanks for that question. Let's see, I think there's a bunch of questions today. Rebecca Harrison on YouTube wants to know, how do you do socks? Which way do you cut them? You cut them straight across. So the tube of the sock is, open on the top, and you just cut straight across with, a couple inches wide. And Peg Grishow, also on YouTube, wants to know, do the knots and strips hurt your feet? Peg. Well, let me tell you something. These rugs are amazing to walk on barefoot. They massage your feet. They don't hurt your feet. It's like the most, it's hard to even describe, to be honest. Like, okay, I'll tell you a little story. I used to do a lot of trade shows. I had a production company, and I would sell my rugs from trade shows all across the country, actually internationally. And if the show was slow, or at the end of the day when things were kind of winding down, all the vendors from the aisle that I was in would come into my booth, take their shoes off, and stand on my rugs in my booth, because their feet were so tired. And these rugs were like, they actually, not only do they cushion your feet when you're standing in one place for a long time, but they just like give your feet like a burst of like massage when you stand on them barefoot. So they certainly don't hurt your feet. They do kind of the opposite. Tama wants to know, is this something I can do with my fabric scraps? Tama, that's a great question. It's a very common question. So materials are generally stretchy. You want to use stretchy materials for your first rug, or maybe for your first couple of rugs. Once you get the process and you're familiar with how it works to use the stretchy material, you can use a gamut of alternative kinds of fabric. I actually have a student who made a rug out of old fur coats. I mean, it's awesome. It's a little like unexpected, but like denim jeans, I've used leather. Yes, you can totally use alternative materials. However, I do really suggest to make your first couple of rugs with stretchy stuff, just because it's going to be easier. Let's see. Does the teaching, Rebecca Harrison, does the teaching video give more than this 4-day workshop? Absolutely. The teaching, the master class is an in-depth, like interactive, like these little snippets. These are I've been teaching for about 20 minutes for the last, each day for the last 4 days. The master class is, an hour-long session of live Q&A, teaching video that's pre-recorded that goes into every single aspect and question that you can imagine. And there's all kinds of bonuses that I have planned up my sleeve. So absolutely, we go much more in depth than what we've done here. The Sherilyn Ewing on YouTube wants to know when the course will be held. This is a really good question. What I normally do, Sherilyn, is I'm sorry, I always say your name wrong. It's Sherilyn, which is such a pretty name. So Sherilyn, what I'd like to do is I get everybody started with the video teaching how to make your own rug loom, and make sure that anybody who's ordered rug looms or loom kits has had the opportunity to receive their loom before we start the class. So registration, that's why I do a short window of registration. So Monday, you got to register for the class before Monday at midnight. Then we'll have our first live Zoom session the following Saturday, just to kind of see where everybody is with their loom. And then we'll schedule a start date for the actual modules to come out. So they'll come out weekly over a 5-week period, and then each module comes out on Wednesday, and on each Saturday we do a live Q&A session at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Everything is recorded for future reference, and there's email conversation. There's also a live community that is just for the students in the Potholder Rug course, so that you can post pictures of where you are. You can kind of encourage each other, get ideas, get inspired by each other. So there's a lot to it. Let's see. The Lindy Wright on Facebook. Lindy Wright wants to know if she can donate to the scholarship fund with a credit card. Yes, absolutely, you can. The place to do that is at the link that is where you register for the Potholder Rug course. You go to that link, and there's a little, it's like an item, if you will, and you can just click on the item and you can make a donation, like I said, in any increment of $20. So if you $20, that's I'm so grateful. If you can, if you can do more, that's even wonderful. So Arnold on Instagram wants to know, have you ever added a backing to the rug with something so they don't move around? This is also a common question. So the Potholder rugs, like I was saying earlier, are quite heavy. So I haven't found the need to add backing to the rugs. In my home, I have floors that are wood, concrete. The bathroom has like tile. And in all of those settings, they seem to stay put pretty well. Although I have had people use like that rubber back, the under carpet kind of layer of, it's like a mesh that's kind of rubbery, sort of like the stuff you put on your cabinet shelves to keep your glasses from sticking. So you can certainly use it, although I don't really think that it's super necessary. So did I get everybody here? I think I got all the questions. So let me see here. All the sessions, there's another question here that I see that I'm wondering about not being, if you can't attend a session, can you watch a recording? Absolutely. This is open. Like I am so excited to teach, right? So I want to make sure that you have a successful experience as a student. So if you're not able to attend a live session and you can always go back and watch the recording of it. If you can't attend a live session and you're stuck and you just don't know how to move forward, you're having an issue, and that's why we have that group. So during the time the masterclass is running, me or one of my helpers is in that group every day, answering questions, commenting, responding. So you will not go for any period of time without having that support. So I spend a lot of time working on how best to meet your needs. So Tracy says, if you cut the quilting fabric on the bias, will it give it a little stretch? It will give it a little stretch. I still say, like, work with knits. First rugs, work with knits. Once you get that first couple rugs, and if you're like a lifelong crafter and you've done a lot of making in your life and you're kind of really familiar with fabrics, I think it would just make one rug with knits, and then you're going to be super comfortable going to the alternative types of fabrics to work in. Let's see. The other thing I do is I really encourage people to collect materials that are not resaleable. So I have a whole segment on material collection and gathering materials from alternative sources. You can start with the back of your closet, and you can think about, posting your needs on your social medias, on your social media platforms. You can send emails to your friends and family. You can, I had one woman, actually it's happened more than just once, but a really cool way of making a potholder rug is to think of it as a gift. So, okay, suppose someone that you love is getting married and you want to make them something super special. You can collect material from all the people in their wedding party, or maybe all the people who are coming to the wedding, and weave that together to make a beautiful rug for the new couple. So, there's just all kinds of ways you can collect material, and I do a kind of deep dive into how best to do that. And it's also a nice way to save money. And honestly, in my experience, people are so excited to know that something that they don't know what to do with. They've used this garment or box of garments for as long as they can. It's not useful to them anymore. To have a place to give that is actually productive and going to give that fabric another life and be incorporated into some kind of really cool rug that their friend is making. So it's really not hard to collect materials that are just what you want, from people who are super excited to help you with that. That is, let's see, Rebecca Harrison meant the $97 video. I think she was wondering about the video. So there is a video for sale in my shop that's $97 that teaches the loom making process. If you have purchased that video and you want to take the masterclass, you will be refunded $97 that you paid for that video, because that is part of the course. So if you've already bought that and you want to register for the course, go ahead and register. Make sure you send me a note so I know to refund you for that $97, and then we'll be good to go. Someone was asking about how far the screws stick up off the wood. I don't know. I think these screws are 2.5 inches long to start with, so I would say they're probably sticking up about, maybe that's 1 3/4 inches, something like that. Okay. So cool. I think that I got everything. So again, I want to thank everybody for joining me, and it's such a pleasure to have this level of interest and interaction and enthusiasm. I'm so excited to take all of the things that we've learned together and take them to the next level and make these amazing potholder rugs. And you're gonna I don't know. I am obviously I love potholder rugs. I love making potholder rugs. I super love teaching potholder rugs. And I think that of all the crafts that I've ever made or participated in, it's just so gratifying to take something that was just really garbage and make it into something that is completely not garbage. There's a term I use a lot in my marketing. I say it's used textile or used clothing, textile waste alchemy. And people often ask me, what does that actually mean? What the heck is alchemy? Doesn't that have to do with lead and gold? And the way I look at it, alchemy is the act of taking something with no value or no worth and turning it into something that is of high value and of great worth. So taking that pile or that bag of clothing that's destined for the landfill, because it's probably not really resaleable, there's holes and stains and the styles are just gone by, and making it into, I got to show you these rugs just in case this is your first time out. I gotta give you a little visual here, because honestly, they speak for themselves. So here's the rainbow rug that I've been showing, and it's just 2.5 by 3.5 feet. This rug weighs about 9 pounds, 8 3/4, 9 pounds. And then the same size, different color, what a different aesthetic, right? That would look so nice in a more kind of modern setting. Definitely would not work very well in my home because we are kind of dirty. We live on a dirt road. We have animals. We're not really ever going to put a white rug in the house, but they look beautiful in the right setting. So I think that you guys are awesome. I think that this is an awesome opportunity to gather together and make really cool stuff and put a new spin on an answer to fast fashion with joy and creativity and a lot of fun. So I look forward to joining you all soon, and have a really great rest of your Earth Day. Thanks so much. Bye.